Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, attendees and participants. Welcome to the November 12th, 2004 meeting of the City of Tampa Variance Review Board. From my left, the members of the board are
Thank you. Simone Savino.
Aaron Murphy.
Share Powers.
Okay. Also attendance at this meeting from legal, we have Ms. Susan Johnson-Velez, and for development coordination, Mr. Stephen Iser and Ms. Lisa Middleton. There are some procedural rules we need you to follow. When your case number and petitioner's name are called, please approach the podium. When you approach the podium, please state your name, address, and confirm that you've been sworn in. Please do this. Everybody forgets. Just try to remember to confirm your name, address, and if you've been sworn in or not. The petitioner or its agent will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. All other participants wishing to speak on the matter will have 3 minutes. Then the petitioner will have an additional 5 minutes for rebuttal if needed. The time periods as stated will be kept by the board. Any information such as pictures or plans that have not previously been submitted as part of the presentation or part of the petition and that you intend to submit for consideration in support of the petition must be individually presented and accepted by the board. After acceptance by the board, you must submit the item to staff for it to be entered and made part of the permanent record. The board bases its decision on competent and substantial evidence which is submitted and which meets criteria required by the city's Code of Ordinances. Please be sure to clearly state your hardship criteria during your presentation. A majority of the board is needed to approve your variance. The variance granted by the board will only be for what is shown on the site plan and will be in compliance with any terms and conditions stated by the board. All other city codes need to be met. If your case is approved, your variance will expire 2 years from the date of decision. If your case is continued, it will be continued to next month's VRB board meeting agenda or to the next available position on upcoming VRB board agenda. If the case is denied, you may wish to have your variance review board's decision appealed by the city council. You must file a petition for review of the board's decision within 14 days of the board's written decision. You will not be able to pull any permits until the 14-day review period has passed. Your cooperation ensuring this meeting runs smoothly is greatly appreciated. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from, was it 2 months ago, from the August board meeting or September board meeting? September board meeting.
I move to accept the meeting notes from the September VRB board meeting.
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. At this time, I'll ask legal staff to confirm whether there are any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'd ask board members if they have any conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the agenda this evening.
Good evening. I will recuse myself from the first item on the agenda, 2437.
Okay, that is...
Or sorry, excuse me. The right number. Yeah.
2437. Okay, and can you state... Okay, you have a conflict of interest with respect to that?
I do. The applicant is represented by my firm.
Okay. All right, I will give you the form for that. And then any other members? Okay. And then at this time, I would inquire as to whether any of the board members have had any ex parte communications with respect to any matter on the agenda this evening. Okay. Please let the record reflect that board members have indicated in the negative. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Are there any changes to the agenda that staff wishes to address this evening? No. Seeing none. At this time, I would ask the staff member to conduct the swearing in. And please, everyone, please stand if you think you may, even if you think you might not, but just go ahead and get sworn in just in case.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. All right, so seeing as, are we only going to have 4 tonight? So seeing we only have 4 board members today, any applicant shall have the right to continue the matter until there are a minimum of 5 board members. So if you wish to, please let staff know, and they can continue to the next board meeting.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Neugebauer. My address is 401 East Jackson Street for the record. Atlantis attorney at Stearns Weaver Miller in Tampa. Here today on behalf of Related to request a continuance for this application. It is a grand tree variance application, and a number of trees fell during the hurricanes. So our arborist and engineer are going back out to the property to reassess the tree tables because we think the numbers will look quite different. And so asking for a continuance. I spoke with staff. And they said that that was fine, and that the next available hearing date is in January. So that is the date we'd request a continuance to. Thank you.
Do we need a motion for this?
Is there, well, I would ask if there's anybody in the public that would like to comment about the continuance.
Is there anyone in the public that'd like to comment on the motion for, or the request for continuance? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Yeah, when's the January meeting? You said January, correct?
I believe it's January 14th.
I move that case VRB 24-37 be continued until the January 14th, 2025 meeting at 5:30 p.m.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Murray and a second by Mrs. Powers. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will see you next year. All right. The next case on the agenda, Mr. Iser.
One second. Okay. So the next case on tonight's agenda is VRB-24-42. The owner is Caitlin Sunyu. The applicant is Cami Corbett. The property address is 2617 Jatan Avenue, and the zoning is residential single-family RS60. These are the requests being made for the variance today. So it is a both in request to 27-156. They're asking for a west side yard reduction from 7 feet to 4.5 feet. This is an existing encroachment. The rear yard setback from 20 feet to 16 feet, also an existing encroachment. The east side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.5 feet, and then an eve-to-eave separation of 3.5 feet to, from 5 feet to 3.5 feet, which is required between principal and accessory structures, which is also an existing condition of the site. And then 27-290 is for accessory structures. So they're asking for a front yard setback from 25 feet to 19 feet. This is a request for a new encroachment to construct a front porch, and then an accessory structure height of from 15 feet to 23 feet to add a second story. And then those are the two code sections in reference. This is a map of the area. As you can see, the house is outlined in red. It is an existing structure. This is the site plan. So as you can see, the layout is staying in the current configuration. The black dashed line is what the standard setbacks are. And then anything extended beyond those are what was labeled as an existing encroachment. And then those are highlighted in blue there. The findings, so natural resources found it consistent with conditions. The overall footprint of the house is not increasing. The variance is basically to increase the structure from 1 story to 2 story. And there was, the tree in the front yard has been pruned away from the house, leading to minor canopy conflicts at the time of construction. Additional natural resources requests can be made. Transportation found it consistent. Wastewater found it consistent. Water found it consistent with conditions. Right-of-way found it consistent. Stormwater found it consistent. TECO has sent a few memos along the process for this review. And TECO has no objections as long as the accessory structure is not increased. And I have attached that email for your reference in your packet. These are the code sections in reference. And then if there's any comments or questions for staff, I am available.
Do we have the presenter? There we go. Please state your name, your address, and if you could just want.
Hello, good evening. Jamie Mayer of the law firm Howard Henderson, representing the applicant, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 3700, and I have been sworn. I'm just going to hit go on my PowerPoint here. So thank you, Mr. Eister, for the staff report and presentation. This is essentially a request to build straight up from an existing footprint. So the existing living area is approximately 1,850 square feet, and so the applicants are seeking to bring the home into more of a modern size of living standards as we see throughout the city that people achieve through new construction as well as additions. And as Mr. Eister explained, there are existing encroachments. So the existing home structure was built in 1925. It's got these existing encroachments that, as this board sees sometimes with these older homes, when you go to add on to it, you find out that there are these existing encroachments that will have to be recognized by way of a variance in order to make any sort of building permit application on the structure. And the accessory structure, I'll show you in a minute, it's already actually a little bit taller than 15 feet, so and the applicant did not construct any of the structures that are on this site, so this is how it is right now and how it was when they found it. It's already about just over 17 feet in height, but the additional height that comes from that doesn't really give them any functionality, and so they're seeking, similar to the principal structure, to add a fully usable second floor on top of the garage, and that is the accessory structure. And then they're also requesting for the only new projection being a front porch. So this is the footprint that's basically going to be taken straight up, except for that one new projection that will be the front porch, which again, oops, sorry about that, is to the right around here. I will note one thing about the code. The code does allow for an administrative approval process for front porch projections of up to 8 feet. We're only asking for 6 feet, so hypothetically this could be within the range of what's administratively approvable, but in discussions with the architect, that section applies to certain designs of front porches. So in an abundance of caution, we're asking for this under the higher standard of variance, since we already have to be here asking for these other variances, rather than just going through that potentially applicable administrative process. Here are images of the accessory structure. As I mentioned, it's already taller than the 15 feet that the code allows, but they don't really get any real functionality out of that additional height. You can stand up in it, but it's not really a room. And so they're seeking that additional height to actually be able to use it, similar to the adjacent neighbor who also has a fully usable two-story accessory structure above their garage. And these examples are not shown to establish some kind of precedent, but rather to show the character of the neighborhood that this request fits in with. These are the neighbors on either side. They both have two-story homes with front porch features. That's the pattern that this house and this proposal will be fitting in with the additional story on the front porch. And then, as you just saw, the neighbor to the east also has a two-story accessory structure. So what we're asking for here is consistent with the character of the neighborhood and consistent visually and functionally as well. And again, this is just to show the pattern of really the prevailing character of this block of West Chaton are these two-story structures with front porch features. They come in all different shapes and sizes, but this is the fabric of this particular street, and we find that our request here is very much consistent with that. This lot is unique and singular. The structures exist in their current conditions the way that they are, and they have these existing encroachments, as well as the fact that the accessory structure has this existing additional height with limited functionality. And then the front porch is necessitated by the existing footprint, as the front porch will merely be a projection off of the existing footprint of the accessory, or the principal structure. For the same reason, this is not a self-created hardship. Many owners in this, especially in this area of South Tampa, are able to achieve more square footage in their homes, either through starting completely over with new construction on a lot of this size, or adding a second story, which is a very typical thing to do on this particular street. And this footprint exists the way it is, and they're proposing to build straight up. No injury will result to the neighbors or the immediately or surrounding neighbors as a result of this request. Again, you saw the pattern of the neighborhood. The resulting home structure will be consistent with that, especially given that there is even an existing accessory structure with a similar height, so it's not going to be something that completely breaks the mold in this area of the city. We did receive letters of support which are in the file on record. This is just a representative sample, but this map shows the property owners that were issued letters of support, and we did not receive any calls or emails in objection. Staff has reviewed the request and finds it consistent with the applicable code criteria. It's consistent, as you've seen, with the neighborhood character. And they cannot, as I mentioned, add to the home without reflecting the fact that there are these existing encroachments. They can't go up because the code sees that as an expansion, if you will, of encroachments that already exist. And so in order to add an additional story, these encroachments have to be reflected. Similarly, changing the accessory structure, it's already above the height that's allowed. And so in adding the additional height, they would have to reflect that anyway. I will make one note about the TICO, the conversations that we've had with TICO. So there is, I think, a platted alley behind this row of homes, and there's a power line that runs along the back. And so TICO is planning to underground power lines in the city. This is on their schedule for early 2025 to underground that power line. Once that occurs, then they would have no objection to the accessory structure being taller. And luckily, if this variance is approved, the timing of the construction would really coincide with that early 2025 timing. And if it didn't happen on TICO's schedule, the applicant does have the opportunity to privately underground the line. So in either case, as long as there's not a power line conflicting with the accessory structure, TICO has said that they don't object to that. The objection is if it's, you're building into the power line. You get it. With that, I do respectfully request this board's approval. We find this a reasonable request, especially given the surroundings of the neighborhood, and myself and the architectural team are here for any questions. Thank you.
Is there anyone wishing to be heard on this matter? Or against? Seeing none, I'll open up the board for comment. Questions?
I have a question. So just for clarification, the structure that's in the rear corner, that's the one that's 15 feet currently?
It is actually 17-1 or 17.1 feet, so it is taller than 15 feet.
And do we have any understanding of why it was built at that height? Just because what was it intended for, a garage?
Sorry,
It was a garage originally?
It is a garage. It is a garage.
And it just has an,
And if the architect wants to weigh in, but really it's a garage and it has basically an oversized attic. We don't know. I looked on Acela and at the city's records and didn't find any history about it, but those typically only go back to like 2014. And I think the previous owner lived there since the 90s. So any records that would have come from her are not on Acela.
and is that structure intended to be connected to the house?
No. The eve-to-eve separation is one of the variances, and it's going to remain what it is.
Okay. And then last, we had a slide that showed the front where it was kind of with that tree. So a natural resources said consistent with conditions, but is what's the distance between that tree and the front once there's a porch added, and is there any kind of like, is it going to be so close that the tree will ultimately grow to affect it? It's a smaller tree.
I would ask if our architectural team has that answer, but I'm not sure. I mean, Natural Resources reviewed it, and I don't think that they see a concern with it. I don't think we've done that analysis because it's not currently an issue.
Good evening, my name is Mary Shoecraft, and I'm a partner in the design build firm that has been contracted by the applicant to hopefully put in these improvements.
Can you need to address and if you've been sworn in?
Yes, I was sworn in. My name is Mary Shoecraft. The address is 301 West Platt Street, number 404, Tampa 33606. The firm's name is Offshore Design Build. So we did go over this with Natural Resources, and they were comfortable with the distance between the new porch and the location of the existing tree. We didn't have any issues with them. I believe it's going to be a little more than 10 feet. The picture is a little foreshortened.
So sorry, 10 feet, the tree is 10 feet from the house, or?
No, it'll be 10 feet from the edge of the new porch,
Okay, thank you.
and it's not a grant.
Mm.
Yes, ma'am.
On the photos of the neighboring homes, it looks like there's already a two-story structure next to the garage. Do we know, are we meeting kind of the same height there? Are we gonna be towering over that house?
I believe, I looked at their record, they're at about, I think it was 23 and 3, so they're about the same height as what we're proposing here, so it should be about level, maybe a little bit shorter than their house. And then I'll show you the aerial. Their structure is approximately the same size. In fact, actually, they got a variance for this, and in their hearing, they pointed out that this structure here was already taller than 15 feet, so that was...
What is that other structure? Like, there's two pictures on this slide.
That is another angle of the garage structure, looking east, so it's got a little side door to get into the garage.
From the backyard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, okay. From the backyard side. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see. Yeah, it would be kind of around, you can see that open space area in the back.
Seeing none, I will close the board discussion, or close the board questions, and we open it for board. Would you have rebuttal time? Is it now rebuttal?
Public comment?
Further public comment? Nope. Okay, I'll close the public hearing and open it for board discussion. And a motion.
All right. I would move that the variance request for case VRB 24-42 for property located at 2617 West Juton Ave be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a west side yard setback from 7 to 4.5 feet, rear yard setback from 20 feet to 16 feet, east side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.5 feet, the eave-to-eave separation from 5 feet to 3.5 feet, the front yard from 25 feet to 19 feet, and the accessory structure height from 15 feet to 23 feet. Based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the first 4 of these variances are to vest an existing home built in the 1920s. The remaining variances are to speak to a home that is built in the 1920s that needed some additional square footage, that it does fit in the neighborhood design and aesthetic. For the front porch, again, the neighborhood is full of those type of design styles and front porches. Additionally, the front porch could have been granted most likely administratively, and that there is no neighborhood opposition, only support.
Can I add a condition? That, and look, I apologize if this is, it would be a condition so that the accessory structure could not be connected to the main dwelling at any point. It would just be to accept the eve-to-eve separation.
So this is only approving it per the provided design plan, so as the design plan shows it not being connected, they would have to come for another variance.
Yeah, they can't.
Okay.
They can't connect.
So, yeah,
You don't have, that's not, no, not necessarily, they can't do it.
Okay, thank you. And this is my first meeting, so I appreciate your patience.
No problem. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Murray and a second by Ms. Powers. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Your motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Okay. The next case on tonight's agenda is VRB 24-44. The owner is Danny Jahul. The applicant is Jamie Mayer. The property address is 2515 Jatan Avenue. The zoning is residential single family, RS 60, and this is to reduce the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 4 feet. And this is code section 27-156. This is the map of the area. This is the site. The reduction is labeled here in the blue box, and that is for a new addition, as you can see in the gray hatched area. This is a close-up of that addition with the hatch being what extends over, and then an increase in the size of the garage in the front. So it's an increase of the garage and an increase in living space behind the garage. Natural resources found it consistent with conditions. Found it that the request to be consistent with conditions during the construction phase. Further changes and requests can be made regarding natural resources. Transportation found it consistent, wastewater consistent, water consistent, right-of-way consistent, stormwater consistent, and TICO found it consistent with conditions, and you guys can see the attached memo in your packet. This is the section that applies to the variance application. And then I will be available if you guys have any questions or comments.
Good evening. Jamie Mayer of the law firm Hillward Henderson, representing the applicant, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 3700, and I have been sworn. This is a request also on West Jatan Avenue, completely unrelated. This is a request to reduce the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 4 feet. So it's a total of a 3-foot reduction for a new addition that includes expanding the garage as well as an additional living area on the house. The purpose of the location of this addition, as you'll see later in this presentation, is to preserve a central defining feature of this home, which is the courtyard around which the majority of the critical living areas center and where they draw their natural light. This home was built in 1937 by renowned Tampa architect Norman Six. He designed the old Curtis Hickson Hall, and he designed a wing of Tampa General Hospital. He designed this home, and he actually lived in this home for a while, and his family owned it for a while, so this is a very quintessential Norman Six home. It's got a unique C shape, as I mentioned, with the courtyard being this integral part of the home that they seek to preserve. This is the home. Again, the layout is around this central courtyard feature, and when you see the photos in the interior, you'll see what I mean as to how critical the courtyard is to this residence. You can see the hatched area is going to be the addition, which continues that pattern of centering the living areas around the courtyard and actually enclosing it into more of a courtyard on the east, as well as expanding the garage eastward. The impact of the addition will be meaningful to the applicant who's owned this home for a long time. It'll be approximately 860 square feet of additional living area and just under 300 square feet for a much needed garage expansion. I do have an exhibit I can show you that the current garage cannot fit two modern-day cars. You can't open the doors in either direction without hitting the wall or each other, and you can't walk around the garage. So this will allow them to have some feet on either side that will allow them to park two cars in this garage. The total footprint, including the garage, will be approximately 3,900 square feet, which is pretty typical for new construction and construction with additions in this area of the city. And if they were to start over completely, this is on this lot, they could get upwards of 4,100 square feet on a first floor. This is the home, the front facade, and I'll just draw your attention to that eastern corner of the garage. That's where the expansion would come out towards that boundary line, and then the rest of the addition would run flush from the garage expansion along the side yard. This is the interior view of the courtyard. So this is looking into the courtyard, and you can see these walls of glass, windows and doors that integrate this courtyard as a room of its own in the house. And then this is on the other side is the view of the side yard where the majority of the addition would be located. So the impact of the interior, on the interior that the courtyard has is significant. Without these walls of glass that bring the courtyard into the home, you can see that the ceilings are low, it's very narrow, and it would be a very dark, kind of linear space. The courtyard does a lot to open it up and bring in that natural light and create this central focal point that is its own functional transitional space in the house that connects the different rooms and the wings to each other, and will do even more so with the addition. If the applicant were to say put the additional square footage that they're seeking in the middle of the home, obviously the courtyard would be gone. It would do nothing to address the fact that the garage needs to be widened, and it would get rid of all of the natural light and change the flow of the home entirely. And this is just to show that that pattern of natural light that's critical to the home will be maintained in the areas where it currently exists, and then of course new walls of doors and windows will be in the addition, so it will continue that pattern of using the courtyard for natural light. And it really does function on this property in lieu of a traditional backyard. It is that livable outdoor space. This is absolutely a unique and singular home. It's got a very unique floor plan now, and it will have, with this proposed addition, a very unique floor plan. In all cases, the courtyard is now and will continue to be really the driving central feature and characteristic of this home. This is not a self-created hardship. This courtyard design of the home was established at the time it was built almost 100 years ago, and the home has centered around it since the time that it was built. The potential neighbor who would be impacted by a side yard encroachment is the neighbor to the east. He's in full support of this request, and it also will add privacy that runs in both directions, so privacy for the property owner for the use of the courtyard, and privacy for the adjacent property owner from the use of the courtyard as that active outdoor space. The surrounding neighborhood will benefit more from the remodeling of this home and preserving this home rather than starting over with new construction and maxing out a new building envelope. Again, to reiterate, we did receive a letter of support. I just wanted to point out also the side of the adjacent property owner's home that would be the closest to this addition. It's more of a back of house area. You've got the HVAC separated by a little wall. It's where they keep the dumpster, the trash can, and there aren't really any windows on that bottom floor. So there's not some active living area on this adjacent property that would be disrupted by the encroachment. Staff has reviewed and found it consistent with all of the applicable code criteria, and again, this does far more to preserve the neighborhood character by preserving this home, the way it looks in the front and the way it functions than to start over. There are practical architectural limitations here in remodeling it, and the owners seek to add livable square footage as many other property owners enjoy, especially on a lot of this size, but they want to honor this house, they love this house, they love the courtyard feature that really does characterize this house and seek to preserve it with this addition. And we respectfully request your approval. Myself and the architect are here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will open it up for board questions.
Taking a look at the left-hand side, you got it, perfect. It looks like if we're coming another 3 feet, 4 feet, are we gonna, it's gonna take out that walkway?
Yes.
I just have some health, safety concerns, possibly, firefighters need to get to that side of the house, there's an issue. Or is that gonna be addressed during the design portion to where people can access that side of the home if there's an emergency?
I will say, to my knowledge, we would not be able to get a building permit if life occupancy issues were not addressed. So if that ended up being, I do not think that that is a concern, it certainly wasn't raised to us. But if it were, then I'm sure we would be back before you and we would not be able to get a CO.
Staff, can you confirm that would be part of the permitting procedure?
Stephen Eister, yes, they would have to meet all life safety criteria before obtaining the building permit.
Very good, thank you.
On the other side, so, the unaltered side of the property, are they meeting setbacks on that side? Just out of curiosity, it looks like the lot is really maximized by the home.
So the existing setbacks are previously approved. You're correct that, so the home is pushed out, and that's kind of the way it's designed. It does require them to have built along the perimeter in order to keep the fact that the middle is open, which obviously is a pretty unusual design. So you're right, and this is basically them giving up a side yard and a backyard in order to preserve the courtyard.
Thank you.
You've got 3 feet on the side already. It's going to 3 feet, and you've got 5 feet on the other. Anyone else?
Sorry, last question. Is everything proposed to expand just the garage, or is it going to expand more living space?
So yes, in this exhibit here, the hatched area is on the southeastern area. That little L is the garage expansion, and then there is that kind of wing that runs along, that would be additional living area. And I'll show you, I do have an exhibit that is in the back here, sorry about that. Without the additional feet, it's basically a hallway, and then the garage, that is the current dimensions of the garage without the expansion. So they are adding this, and that's the total addition. And so basically you're pushing the garage out, and then they just run the addition flush with that garage, which is already encroached into the setback.
Thank you, that's much clearer. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Okay, would anybody else like to be heard on that, or do you need any time for rebuttal?
The only other thing I forgot to mention, an additional neighbor, Mr. Tyler Hudson, who lives on the street, did also submit a letter of support into the record. I don't know if y'all had a chance to review it, but we did receive 2 letters of support, and I did not hear anybody in opposition. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing and open up for board discussion and motion.
My concern here is that the lot is being extremely maximized. There's not a lot of negative space left with this. I understand the desire to preserve the courtyard and the need to preserve the courtyard, but the lot itself seems like it's going to be completely built out. And that's my hang up is how close it's become now. It would be on all sides to the setbacks.
Yeah, it's a pretty irregularly shaped lot, which I think was why why it was constructed the way it was without a typical backyard, which makes sense.
I guess my hangup is the 3 foot versus 4. I mean, I know it's just 1 foot, but that 1 foot is quite a bit of space to add on when you're just even getting a wheelbarrow around through the side of the house like that.
3.5 feet. This is going to 4. So
It says from 7 to 3.
7 to 4.
Yeah, the variance request is to 3 foot,
7 to 3 foot,
but the
24-44.
site plan shows 4.
Real quick, Stephen, to clarify, the variance request was to reduce the side setback by 3 feet to 4 foot.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's, the agenda says from 7 to
Yeah,
3, so that's
sorry.
why I'm,
Yeah.
okay,
This says 3, the agenda says 4.
that was an error on mine. That was an error on my part.
okay,
So it's going to 4, not 3.
Correct.
okay,
Yeah, and I
okay,
think that was stipulated by Tico as well. in
okay.
Well, that-
Okay, well, that makes a difference then,
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
yeah. I know it's only a foot, but it,
No.
like I said, it significantly, just, I don't know, I have my parameters.
Well, the rest of this has to go through all the rest of the permitting procedures, and if they pick up on something else, then
Right.
you want to take a swing at it, you make me do it again. Made it out.
Oh,
All right, go for it.
Okay, I move that the variance request for case VRB 24-44 for property located at 2515 Jeton Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan, presented at the public hearing for a request to reduce east setback from 7 foot to 4 foot for an addition, based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record, and that at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, that specifically that the house lot is unique in structure, and the layout supports expansion in the direction to create enough additional space for today's modern living. It's not a self-created hardship with the way the house itself lays out. Preserves the neighborhood, and they have neighborhood support.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Powers and a second by Mr. Murphy. I'll get there. Mr. Murphy, excuse me. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, your motion carries 4-0.
Okay, Board, the next item on the agenda is VRB 24-45. The owner is Wal Muner and Mackenzie Dugan. The applicant is Giselle, I'm gonna not say the last name. The address is 1513 South Georgia Avenue. The zoning is residential single family, RS 50, and the request is to reduce the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 1.3 feet. This is under section 27-156. This is a map of the home. This is a site plan, and the area highlighted in yellow is the proposed addition. The reduction is so they can do the addition in line with the existing structure. So everything in gray is existing, then the yellow is proposed. And then they're adding on the other side as well, but it doesn't encroach into the setbacks. These are the comments from development review. Natural resources found it consistent with conditions. Transportation did not do a review. Wastewater found it consistent. Water consistent. Right-of-way did not complete a review. Stormwater consistent, and TICO also found it consistent. This is the criteria for a variance. And then I will be available for any comments or concerns that you may have.
Mr. Astor, real quick, are they going for 1 foot 4 inch on one and 1.3 feet? It's one and the same, but when we're talking about it, which one would you like us to go with?
Yeah, let's go with 1 foot 6 inches. That's what it's on the site plan. North side set yard from 1 foot or 7 feet to 1 point.
1.3 feet? Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna go with?
Yeah, let's go let's go with that.
All right, instead of 1 foot, it would be 1.5, okay.
Yes. Do I put it straight up?
Yes. Okay. All right, you guys are good to go?
Hello, my name is Mackenzie Sada. This is my husband, Manir Sada, and we live at 1513 South Georgia Avenue, and we have both been sworn in. We're here today to present our variance request to reduce the side yard setback on the north side from 7 feet 0 inches to 1 foot 6 inches. It did say 1.3, so I do want to clarify it is 1 foot 6 inches.
So we're going 1.6.
Yeah. We initially purchased this house in August of 2019 and planned for this to just be our starter home, as it is a 3-bed, 2-bath, just shy of 1,400 square foot home. We've since had 1 child, but wish to continue to grow our family. So we wish to add on to the back and side of our house to make our house more livable for our growing family. We love our neighbors in our neighborhood and love being within a half mile of my parents and Henry's grandparents. The bungalow was built in 1925 in its current location with a 3-foot setback on the north side of the property. Without the variance, we would not be able to sufficiently utilize the space our lot affords and would not be able to make our addition contiguous with the current building line of our home. We would like to maintain the integrity of the structure already in place, as it would make the addition appear original and keep with the historic character of the existing house. The hardship was not a self-created hardship, as the home was built in 1925 and was not subject to the current setback requirements. The proposed addition is single-story and will be built in the same aesthetic as our existing home. It will not cause any harm or impact to the neighboring properties. Our northern neighbors are in full support of this project, given that they just completed an identical project and had a similar variance request. And I do have a signed letter from them in support of this addition, if I can put that on the screen for you. There will be no trees removed or trimmed, and no vegetation will be affected, and we meet the green space requirements as well. The addition will not obstruct upward or rearward views of the adjacent property and will continue to provide privacy for both properties. The variance is in harmony with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. It will provide added comfort and convenience for our growing family while also keeping the historic integrity of the home and the craftsman charm. We fell in love with the craftsman architecture and wish to preserve it as much as possible, which means keeping a direct straight addition off the back of the home, maintaining the original lines and forms. Approval of this variance will allow our addition to be contiguous with the current structure and will allow full use of the lot and backyard while benefiting the neighborhood by giving it continued charm and character and keeping the house functional for the future and prevent it from being a tear down. It will also provide an immediate increase in property value, not only for us, but the neighborhood. At our initial pre-approval meeting, it was brought up that there was an old shed seen on Google Maps that was potentially close to our proposed addition, and I just want to show photos that after their construction was done, that shed has since been removed. So that's their existing, they just added that on, and that is our existing roof line. I have photos of the rest of the property as well if you have any questions, but thank you so much for allowing us to speak on behalf of our project and our variance.
Is there anyone wishing to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll open it for board questions.
I'm sorry, I know you said the square footage currently. Could you repeat that again?
Yeah, the square footage currently of livable space is like just shy of 1,400, it's 1,392. And the proposed livable space would be 1,806.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, this might be a silly question. Is it a 2-story bungalow?
No, it's a 1-story.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought we were just talking about the ground floor.
We are, yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. You have 2 minutes for rebuttal, should you need it.
I don't have anything.
Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing and open up for board discussion and motion.
I'll move that the variance request for case VRB 24-45 for property located at 1513 South Georgia Ave be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the side yard setback on the north side from 7 feet to 1 foot 6 inches. based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that.
Hold on, yes. One says east yard and one says north.
It's north.
It is,
North yard.
It's the north side of the east yard.
North side of the east yard, okay.
Specifically that this home is an older home built in 1925, and in the existing setbacks of the original construction, it was built per plan. This addition is only to extend the existing structure per plan, not any further encroachment into the side setbacks. Additionally, the home is in agreement with the aesthetics of the existing neighborhood and doesn't have any negative health safety factors. It's also to bring the home, it's an older home, into a more modern, livable size for a family.
Second?
All right. We have a motion from Mr. Murphy, second by Ms. Powers. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. And Mr. Grimmett? Congratulations, you passed 4-0.
Thank you. Oh, sure. Sure. Here's, hold on. Do you have the letter? Oh my gosh.
I have a letter.
Okay, give him the letter and there's the letter. And can you just make sure that it's written correctly, because they also said it differently?
Yeah.
But it's the north side. Yeah, okay.
Oh, it would be the north side.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Well, it'd still be the east side.
It's northwest, because this is the,
Yeah.
okay, that is north.
So is the north side.
Yeah. It is the east side. Well, they need to be accurate, because if you say what's on this, yeah, exactly.
So it is the north.
It is the north side.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just gonna have to look at all the papers.
We got it.
Direction matters.
So the next case on the agenda is VRB-24-47. The owners are August F. and Ansley Voss. The applicant is Mike Loomis. The property address is 4410 Brookwood Drive. The zoning is residential single family, RS 50. And this is a request, a variance of relief for the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 14 feet 5 inches, or 14 and a half feet. 14 and a half, 14 feet 6 inches. And this is section 27-156. This is a aerial of the current structure. The addition is outlined in the dark gray. It's a open air roof structure. And then the dashed line is the 20-foot RS 75 setback line. Okay. This is a zoom in of the addition that's being proposed. And then these are the reviews back from the different parties. So natural resources found it consistent with conditions, transportation, wastewater, water, right-of-way, stormwater, all found it consistent. And then TICO found it consistent with conditions. And then this is the criteria for the variance review board. And then I will be available if you guys have any comments or concerns.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Loomis, 3613 West Palmyra Ave, Tampa, 33629. Bring to you tonight.
You been sworn in?
Yes, I was sworn in, thank you. I bring to you tonight one of two. As presented, we have an open-air structure that we'd like to add to the back pool deck area. Visuals are usually the best. How am I getting that up over here? Oh, there, never mind. Yep, there we go. Let's see here. As you can currently see, back of the house, they have a garage that extends out. Probably at one point in time, a back porch turned into part of the house. There's no record of any of that. The house is old enough. The garage then is connected. So what we're trying to do is have an open-air structure, a place they can hang out. We're asking for not to ever be AC'd in and reduce the setback. You can see here what that whole area looks like. And then here as a finished product, you can see how that would line up with the existing garage on the backside. So a reduction that we're asking for from 20 feet to 14 and a half feet, that reduction lines up with the back of the garage. It's pretty straight.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, yeah.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll open for board discussion. Any questions?
From a question from the west elevation, the proposed west elevation, will the eaves of the proposed caged enclosure meet the eave of the garage, or are they just, they're not gonna line up exactly? And I'm just curious, because I'm wondering if I'm looking at the wrong angle, because the southwest elevation looks like maybe they line up.
They are going to line up. So we are asking that the eaves, gutters can encroach into the setback just a little bit further, but everything would line up exactly with the garage.
Okay, I think
It might be just an angle.
Does the do the existing eaves and gutters encroach into the setback as well?
Yes.
I think the whole
The garage, well, yes, but the garage.
Yeah.
The
The garage was probably an accessory structure at one point and now has become part of the main structure.
How old is the home? When was it built?
Let me see if I have that here. I don't, but I'm gonna guess the home is at least from the 70s, if not older.
And it looks like previously there was something that had transpired about an unpermitted screen enclosure. Do you have any understanding of what that entails?
On this particular, the screen enclosure that was there has been removed. That was removed a while ago because there used to be an oak tree that the screen enclosure went around. That oak tree died and has since been removed years past. So now they're just trying to update their backyard to a modern outdoor living.
Okay.
So there is no screen enclosure going back in or anything like that.
Are they opposed with that condition being put in place?
To never have their backyard screened in again?
Correct.
I don't know. I guess the question would be, why would that come up? Because you're saying there was one illegally put in there?
I think you're asking about in the enclosure of the new structure, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just talking about screening in the new,
Right. She's referring to enclosing and air conditioning the area, so you specified earlier.
I said, I
not to be enclosed,
specifically
so-
said that we would never look to AC, like fully wall that in. I don't know if I would put the clause in there of not being able to screen it in if somebody wanted to screen it in at one point in time. That's not part of the proposal now, though.
Staff is screened, considered an enclosure?
So screen, if this was a screen enclosure, he would only have 5-foot setbacks. Due to this being a solid roof, that's what's triggering the variance to have it there. If he could screen it in, because we would have a screen enclosure, but it would not be able to be walled in with doors, windows, AC,
Air conditioning.
air,
Correct.
yeah, to that level.
So this specific setback or variance is because he's just proposing the roof.
Correct. To be able to run the roof in line with the structure that's existing, it's triggering the variance.
And that would somehow change if it was going to be screened?
No.
By screen, he means like open air, like the roof would be open air, like a pan roof would cause the same issue.
A pan roof would cause the same issue. So as a condition, typically when we have the solid roofs, if we don't want to see the entire structure closed in, the condition would be placed that the structure shall not be enclosed and air conditioned.
Okay.
And then it can remain open air or as a screen room with a solid roof.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Seeing none, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Nothing to rebuttal.
Okay, well, with that, we'll close the public hearing and open up for board discussion and a motion.
All right, I move that the variance request for case VRB 24-47, located at 4410 Brookwood Drive, as depicted on the site plan presented here at the public hearing for a reduction in the rear setback from 20 feet to 14.5 feet, with an encroachment for the eaves or gutters, with the following conditions: that the newly built structure will not be enclosed and air conditioned. And that said variance as conditioned be granted based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that there is an existing attached garage already sitting at this setback, which is not a self-imposed hardship. This is not to be enclosed. It matches with the neighborhood design aesthetic, and it doesn't have any health or safety risks.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Murphy, second by Ms. Powers. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. And there are no nays. Congratulations, you passed 4-0.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is VRB-24-48. The owner is Jacqueline and Craig Cahill. The applicant is Mike Loomis. The property address is 3515 West Tacon Street. The zoning is residential single family. The request is a variance to relieve of the west side yard setback for a caged enclosure to be reduced to 0 feet. So from 5 feet to 0 feet. This is section 27-290, screen enclosures. The following setback shall apply to all screen enclosures. Front setback 25 feet, from corner lot line 7 feet, from side lot line 5 feet, and from rear lot line 5 feet. This case does have a unpermitted screen enclosure CMP attached to it. This is a aerial of the site. This is the site plan. So as you can see, this gray area here is the unpermitted screen enclosure that goes in basically in front of the front door. So this is a zoomed in version. So you can see the existing covered lanai, and then the screen enclosure goes around that. And then development review comments. Natural resources found it consistent with conditions due to there's a concrete wall that runs along the street because it does have, it's on a corner. So there are no trees or vegetation impacted by the screen enclosure. Transportation found it consistent. Wastewater, water, right-of-way, stormwater, and then TECO had no response as of September 25th. And then this is the criteria for the variance review board, and I'll be available for any questions or concerns.
Mike Loomis, already sworn in, 3613 West Palmyra Ave, Tampa 33629. All right, as discussed, this one's a little unique. They had hired somebody to do some screen enclosures. New house was built next door. Neighbors decided to do something. They got caught by the city. The city was out snooping around, looking at all the neighbors, and lo and behold, they got picked up. So we were doing other work for them at the time, and so I was able to let them know that I could hopefully help with this situation. So what we have is they are on a corner lot. They're on the corner of Himes and Tacken. in here, let's see here. Thank you. So, as you can see, their front door doesn't face what you would think is the front of the house. So they have, I'm assuming at one point in time, the house being rebuilt in the 90s, they probably flipped maybe the front entrance or the address at that point, but they have a pretty substantial offset from Himes. We're looking at almost 20 feet from the edge of the road to the 6-foot-high masonry wall that is there. So originally they were allowed to build a 6-foot-high masonry wall around their entire front door right on their property on the side yard. So that was all built with the house originally. The front sidewalk that you can see is coming up looks like it should go to a front door, but there is no front door there. You actually have to walk into this courtyard and down to get to the front door, which then here you can see where the front door really is, where over here would be the entrance to one or coming off the driveway to the other side. What this unique courtyard does is it encapsulates a lot of bugs and other things for all their entries in and out of the house. This unique area was screened in, and that is what is now, based on last conversation, screen is required to stay at 5 feet. The house setback on this with the wall is 7 feet. So obviously it wouldn't be able to be screened without a VRB reduction here. So what we're asking for is to go from 5 to 0. The screen is obviously there currently. It sits on top of the wall and matches up with the gutter of the house like it would. When you look here, because that was an old, but when you look here, they have these massive bougainvillea hedge. So you can't even see this thing really from the road. It's not even visible. They keep this big hedge there because they face due west, so that evening, afternoon sun, so the screen helps with that as well. And that is the conclusion right now. Open for questions.
Can we see the bottom of this page here?
You want to see that?
Yes. Is that what you mean?
All right. Does that conclude your presentation?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard on this matter?
What's that?
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard? Seeing none, I'll open up for board questions.
Do you have any idea when this home was built? It's just a strange front door location for the address.
I believe the home was built in the 90s. It is a unique front door, right? Yeah.
Do you know where the mailbox is located?
The mailbox is all the way out on Tackin, so over here is the mailbox.
But the street address is?
Tackin, yeah.
Oh,
Right, you would almost think it would be Himes.
So it's acting as a side yard on a corner lot.
Pretty much, yeah. It acts as a side yard.
But that's actually considered the front yard setback right now?
No, the front yard is the front yard.
The address is.
is there a wall in the front yard?
There is a masonry wall that surrounds the front yard to the property line. What extends out from the house and the setback falls at that 3-foot opaque with 1 foot of fence on top for the 4-foot rule.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I also see it's the block wall is the side wall, and they've got a giant yard setback. Right, they're not encroaching on the street at all. There's no other place you could. I don't have a problem with this particular closure, I just have a problem that they did it without a permit, but then again, you wouldn't really know that you needed one with the wall being there.
I have a issue with just entry into the home from a health safety perspective, just because the front door seems hidden, and this seems like it would further obscure that, just a thought.
Do you have a view of the front of the house?
Yeah, let me see here, yep. Right here, so here's front sidewalk going through the gate, and then up to the front of the house there.
And so there's an existing screen door.
Currently, yes,
Essentially go in
there's a
straight
screen door, so you enter the screen door, then you have to turn to your left, you turn to your right. You know, it is a very limited lot, children, you know, this area that's walled in, and being screened in, it allows them to put the dogs out and let the kids, one of their daughters is a gymnast, so it lets her have her mats out there and stay inside that area.
All right, so the actual front door is, you have to go down around through this and that, those two doors on the side, you actually go down that corridor.
Those are the actual front doors, yeah. Yeah, where you would think there'd be a door or anything, once you walk straight up to the front of the house, that's a wall, a solid wall. To your right is a window, so you have to make that left and go down that hallway.
It's almost like they redid that. That doesn't make any sense.
That's all I have for questions.
Okay. Any more questions from the board? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. You have 2 minutes for rebuttal, 2 minutes per rebuttal.
I don't think I have anything else to add. Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll close the public hearing and open up for board discussion and a motion.
It's a strange one, but this is how the house was built.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's architecturally like amazing. It's not gonna make any architectural digest, but it's not, it's just sort of how the house is and.
The driveway's in the back on Himes. We finally got locks around tape.
Yeah, I just have a hard time with this one because I think the front door's already obscured. I think this further obscures it. I think from a health safety perspective, I can't get behind it.
I agree with you. Just in the fact of going to a 0 setback on anything,
So I don't have as much of a problem with it, because there's already a concrete wall there.
Yeah, there's a 6-foot concrete
It's
wall.
it's a see-through screened enclosure.
yeah, but the accessibility,
What do you mean? Like, there was never any way to get in there with the wall there anyway. So it's not really accessible, you put a screen over it.
With just a wall, at least you can see where the door is located. I think even, yes, it's a screen, you can see through it, but I think that it just makes it more difficult to get to an entrance.
I don't
I think a
disagree, but
screened-in area is more of a private sector of a home that really, front door access of things just seems,
so I believe they could, the problem is they extended the screen out. They could have screened it in and not, then only taken half of that porch. It just wouldn't have come out the whole way. It would have still obscured the door the same way. In fact, probably more.
They're not gonna move the front door.
I'm not seeing how the screen makes the problem with the door worse or better. It just doesn't.
Well, it's
It's
really
a
not the
separate
question
issue.
of where the door is located so much as this screen, having it here makes it harder to access the door. But yeah, the door is in a weird location, but I think adding the screen makes it even more difficult as an entry point or a point of entry. And I also think the 0-foot setback is something that, yes, there's a wall, but extending it out, just that additional distance pushes it to the absolute edge of the property, so there's no way to get through there, obviously just through the screen enclosure, but I have a hard time with the 0-foot. Maybe if it was less, it would be a little bit more appealing.
We take them 0-foot for rear pool screen enclosures all the time.
On side yards where it's a 0-foot, but it's not practically a 0-foot, it's practically 18 feet. That's the big difference. This isn't against another property. This is
Understood.
against and they're really isn't another, because of the corner lot, there isn't a place for them to have any sort of privacy. They've got a garage in the back, no backyard, no, you know. I'm
It's
not
weird,
sure
because
what
like
they're
the front yard's the backyard, the side yard's the front yard. It's,
I mean, unfortunately, the way that the lot, and this is where the hardship comes, is the way that the lot lays out, there isn't a place to have a screened-in enclosure anywhere on the property except for exactly where they put it.
I understand. I don't know if I could be persuaded, though.
No, you know. Yeah, this is quite unique. You know, as it is, if you see on the picture on the left, they're kind of having to use the front yard as a backyard to have any protected area for kids to play and jump and whatever.
There is a grand tree in the back.
there's a grand tree in the back.
That's another hardship. I mean, I just see enough hardships on this that looks pretty, from what we see on, the only thing I don't like about it is it was that the hardship was not thing, that they just didn't work undocumented, that the hardship was already there. Grand tree, corner lot, not any area for a backyard to be put in. I mean, that's, you know, no other place to put in a screened enclosure. I think if this came to us before someone had done it, I would probably feel better about it, but it doesn't. I don't think this encroaches upon anybody's neighbor or things. I would support the motion. But I can't make a motion today.
I mean, I guess I'll take a swing at it and we'll see where it goes. Actually, I've got one more thing I think we need to discuss with where I want to go with this. I would like to make a motion to reopen the public hearing to ask the applicant a question.
Do you need a second?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We open the public hearing.
Mr. Loomis, much like the previous one, hearing from the remainder of the board, I think it would be very important to put a condition in here that this area never be enclosed or air conditioned.
Oh, absolutely. I can agree
Yeah,
with that.
of
yes.
course. So I want to make sure that was okay with you. I don't have any other further questions.
While we're back open,
Sure.
what are the other access points to this house? Where can you get in?
Well, you mean into the physical house or into the property?
Well, both. How about that?
Well, they have the driveway and the garage off of Himes that allows in, and then there's a back door that acts like a normal back door on the back of a house, where it should be. So those would be your two other points of entry into this home.
Okay, and I'm assuming, but I don't know, is the main way to get in and out through the garage currently?
I would
Is it-
say their most used way of entering and exiting the house is probably through the garage, yes. Just based on the fact that they're on Himes, it's a little bit, of a busy street. So coming in and out, because they have a gate on the driveway for the kids and the dogs, so I feel that they enter and exit that primarily. I think it's also easier to get in and out of just naturally from where the front door is. The front door, I think, is just used for the occasional, Amazon delivery or guest that comes over. I don't think the front door is their primary access.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay.
He gets rebuttal time. So.
Yes, sir. Close the board questions and open for 2 minutes for rebuttal.
I think from hearing you guys discuss, the only thing, I would maybe persuade to that 0 on that side is that obviously we have a 6-foot-high masonry wall, so the screen is sitting on top of that up here. So from a 0 point, it's not like we're actually fully taking it to something that's new. It's something that's a pre-existing location. Also, screen doors, it's visible through. A lot of people have screened in front porches or screened areas to walk through. So I don't think it's disinviting. I think going back and looking at some of the original pictures before it was done, I believe there were metal gates before the screen doors. Like iron gates, like the front gate on the front of the, front wall there.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm completed.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing and open up for board discussion and a motion. I will agree with that. My sister's house has a portion that you have to walk through a screening porch to get to her house. Now, it's in Boston, but it's, that's, I feel it's more common than, we don't see it as much down here, but it definitely is something.
Okay. Any other discussion? We'll see how it goes. All right, I would move that the variance request for case VRB 24-48 located at 3515 West Take-On Street as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for reduction in the west side yard setback for caged enclosure to be reduced from 5 feet to 0 feet, with the following condition that this caged enclosure, the screen enclosure, never be completely enclosed and air conditioned. And that said variance as conditioned be granted based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code. Specifically that this is a corner lot, the way the house was originally constructed, the front of the home facing Take-On does not have an existing front door. It was originally a door along Himes on the side of the home. There is additional access via the garage and the rear door. This also provides some safety for the homeowners from bugs and all of the critters that we have here in Florida. And there are no neighboring opposition.
Do we have a second?
If this motion fails, someone else will have to make an additional motion. All right. Motion failed, oh, sorry. That's you.
Yeah. No. All right, so there's no second, so the motion does not carry. Would anyone else like to make a motion?
Move that the variance request for case VRB 24-48 for the property located at 3515 West Take-On Street for a reduce west side yard setback to 0, from 5 feet to 0, be denied due to the failure of the petitioner to meet its burden of proof to provide competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the cage enclosure and is a self-hardship because it was put up by the homeowners. The barrier of the cage enclosure could potentially cause distraction to lead emergency personnel to the home.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Powers and a second by Ms. Savino. Did I get that right? All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed? So unfortunately, because we only have 4 people here, the motion fails. Or so your variance request fails, correct?
Denied, yeah, that's correct.
It's denied.
Thank you.
So this is the last case of the evening. It's VRB-24-54. The property owner is AIMC Enterprises. The applicant is Benny Fernandez. The property address is 6010 South Elkins. The zoning is residential single family, RS50. The request is to remove a 39-inch B7 live oak for the construction of a single-family home, pool, and extended family dwelling unit. The code section this is referred to is 27-284.2.5. The previous actions so far on the site are BLD-23-0443155. That was the demo of the the structure that was on the site. And then BLD-24-0509-626, which is the building review for the new structure. This is a map of the site. As you can see, it's this long red rectangle. This is the grand tree information. It's a live oak, Quercus virginiana. The DBH is 39-inch. The canopy measurements are 78 by 80 feet. The condition is B7. And the mitigation value of this tree is 26 type 1 mitigation trees at 2.5 inch. And then an assessment was done after the storms to verify that the tree is still meeting that current condition. These are photos of the tree. As you can see, it's along the property line. And then there's the canopy of the tree after the storm. So it still looks pretty decent. This is the survey of the lot. The lot is currently 50 by 240. And there are grand trees in the rear of the lot, which we'll see on the next plan. So this is the NR markup from the building review. So this overlays the proposed house onto the survey. As you can see, they have the B7 live oak in the front portion of the lot. And then if you look towards the rear of the lot, there is also a 36-inch live oak, 29-inch live oak, 27-inch, 16, 16, and then right behind the grand tree, sorry to jump around on you guys, there's a 26-inch C6 live oak off-site. With that tree being off-site, they cannot impact that tree through construction because it is not theirs. This is a proposed to show how they could reduce the side yard setback, even by reducing it by 3 feet and reducing the front setback to 10 feet. The house still encroaches quite a bit into the tree zone, which is that green TPZ zone. These are some other site plans that were submitted. These are basically showing a proposed house with a reduced size. And then the site plan to the left kind of shows the repositioning of the house in the driveway to move it from the side so they could kind of adjust away from the tree. But then you have it in direct conflict with the mother-in-law suite, and then the pool was shifted to the side as well. Natural Resources found the request inconsistent, and I have attached the NR memorandum. Transportation found it consistent, wastewater consistent, water no comment as of November 1st. Right-of-way, stormwater, and TICO also all found it consistent. This is the criteria for the grand tree removal for 27284.2.5. And then I'm available if you guys have any questions. The one thing I did want to bring up, they could not utilize a rear yard setback reduction because of the existing trees. So they couldn't utilize that 40%. And then they could not utilize a west side reduction due to the off-site live oak that's there on this side. So they couldn't, because of that tree there, they could not utilize the 1 foot reduction that way. Okay, and then we'll just switch over so you guys can use the document.
Are you able to pull that document that you just had up?
Over that. That's good.
Actually, the one that was, we'll keep going. First one that I had on, keep going. Yeah. It was the one with the questions on it.
Oh.
And my answers, there we go, that one.
My name is Benny Fernandez. My address is 905 108th Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33612. And I've already been sworn.
My name is Victor Lupus. My address is 709 Mans Harbor Drive, Apollo Beach, Florida. 33572 is the zip code, and I have not been sworn in yet.
Always one.
You want to raise your right hand? Do you swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. So we're in front of you tonight, board, asking for this tree variance. I originally bought the home in 2020, right before COVID. The plan was to remodel the home. However, it was actually, had a tree that fell into it, the same tree that we're asking for this variance on. A big part of the branch came in and actually fell into the roof. And the home was sold to me. It wasn't able to be lived in. So I went to go remodel it, and COVID hit, and the plans changed because of the need for the amount of construction it was going to take. And I was being told by the architect and different people that we wouldn't be able to move a family into it and get it insured, because it's so close to Bayshore and the actual water of Tampa Bay, and it would need to be demolished and rebuilt. So I went to my architect, had plans drawn up, trying to save the tree, and moving things around to build a nice single-family residence. And South Tampa does have a high demand for single-family homes. So we wanted to definitely have a home that could fit, an average-sized family. So we went and increased the square foot up to the 5,000 square feet, because a 1,200 to 2,500 square foot home wouldn't even work back on the lot and be able to get insured without having to reposition or ask for this tree variance. The hardships that we ran into are the shape and the size of the lot has made it extremely difficult to reposition any structure on the lot. It's a substantial hardship that is not common to other properties in the area. The requested variance is essential to allow for reasonable use of the property while preserving the neighborhood's character. The tree's preservation is a priority, but it's significantly limits the potential to reconfigure the proposed structure without compromising the integrity of the home design or the tree itself. And that's what we showed with actual different designs that we're trying to configure. I do have pictures of what the house was before it was demoed. I don't know how to flip over to the, oh. Here's a picture of the house before it was demoed. And then the tree is right behind it is the 39-inch oak, and the branch that fell into the roof causing all of this significant damage. These are pictures of the inside and why the house had to get demoed. And there was actually, when I bought it, homeless people living in there that we had to also have vacant because they were living in a home that wasn't safe and it was illegal. We were actually racking up fines with the city of Tampa due to people complaining about the home's vacancy. Here's a picture of the 39-inch live oak. As you can see, it hangs over the adjacent property of a neighbor that has a very significant size branch. I don't know the actual size of it, but it's pretty close to the trunk size, and it hangs over the neighbor's home as well. That neighbor does have a small child living in that home, and I feel that it is a very big safety potential to where another big storm rolls through that could possibly knock that tree down and also, incur damage to that neighboring property.
Let me piggyback off of that right here. So I'm born and raised in Tampa, and I've been in a house in Tampa where 2 trees fell. I lived on River Hills Drive, in Tampa, and you know, all there had the beautiful trees, and you know, I always said that I'd never buy a house with trees, you know, around it. You know, we had different things, you know, God had a different plan for us, but the trees were all around the house, and I remember my wife being in there and one tree coming down, and it was just catastrophic event. Thank God my son was in another room at that time, because if not, he would have been injured. And then another time, me and my son were out front of the yard after a bad storm, and a big, gigantic pine tree fell down right in front of us, and he had a toy there, and he was like, "Oh, Daddy, let me get the toy," and I had felt it bad, and I was like, no, wait a minute, and the tree fell and hit the toy. So as I went over there, as you can see, this is a picture of the tree now. This tree covers a majority of these people's house next door, the neighbor, okay? I became a partner into this build this year in January. I became partners with Mr. Lupus. So I go there and I see this tree, and it's hanging massively over the people's house. As you can see, there's a baby carriage in the front. You know, they just have a new addition to their family, and you know, I'm big on that. Like, this tree is super massive. You seen what one branch fell off. This is the branch that fell off. Just that little corner did all that damage to the old structure there. So this one would be a catastrophic event if something was to go wrong. When the storm came, I was all worried about that. I was like, man, these people are in great danger, because I was in great danger before, living close to a lot of trees and all that. So, you know, we just not want to take it out because we want to build a house. This is a safety measure here. It is a big overhang, huge there. And, you know, we're willing to mitigate and put more trees. The lot is full of beautiful trees. We're not trying to tear none of them down. This would be a safety measure for the house that we put there too. You know, it needs to be taken out. It's already destroyed one property, you know, and now we definitely don't need to destroy another one. As you know, everybody's seen what it did in the storm. You know, driving down the street, seeing the trees piled up, it's a bad thing, you know. And we're not trying to, you know, take away from the trees and the oaks and all that stuff. You know, this property is full of that, full of vegetation, full of trees. You know, it's a beautiful property, and, you know, we're going to keep it that way.
And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Please approach. As a reminder, please state your name, address, and then verify you've been sworn in.
Wade Reynolds, 6008 South Elkins Avenue. I have not been sworn in, and I don't believe my co-speakers have either.
Okay. Anyone in the audience that needs to be sworn in, please stand.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you all. Wade Reynolds, 6008 South Elkins Avenue, immediately next door to the north of the subject property. I was born and raised in this neighborhood. We just built a house next door. We took a lot of extra care to build around a grand oak on the other side of ours. We have great grand oaks in the back, and this neighborhood has been full of grand oaks, and we value them greatly. I read in the application that they would have to reduce the size of this 5,000 square foot house by approximately 30% to accommodate this tree. That would result in a, 3,500 square foot house plus their mother-in-law addition, still resulting in over 4,000 square feet of livable space. I would submit to you that that is probably greater than any house on the block. It's a bit out of scale. Although if they could fit it in the setbacks and not take any trees out, I wouldn't be against it. Regarding the demolition of the previous house, I watched that demolition take place. That old house was covered with asbestos siding. No water mitigation was used. Dust blew across the street on all the neighboring homes. I just was very disappointed in how they approached that. It was also demolished as a result of city code enforcement action, but that's a different story. The alternative site plans I just viewed, my son turns 4 tomorrow. He could have moved around some shapes better than that. I think it makes a mockery of your process, and I would hope that they could do better. I want to thank you for your service to our community, and I hope for your unanimous denial of this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I am Candace Graham, and I live at 6014 South Elkins Avenue. I'm 2 doors down from the proposed dwelling. I can tell you that our neighborhood has been decimated. All of the grand oaks that we love and moved into the neighborhood to have been taken down. And this is a perfectly healthy tree. I think that it is a self-created handicap or hardship, that the size of the property is way out of scale with anything else in the neighborhood, which is fine, but don't go messing with our trees. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Francine Arrington. I live at 6011 South Elkins, right across the street. My house actually, and or even the suite, extra suite. This is a self-created hardship. And now, more than ever, Tampa's live oaks must be preserved after the loss of canopy due to the recent storm is added to the significant loss of the trees in the past 10 years due to development. It's easy to surmise that our canopy has dropped below the 30% benchmark that's used to validate a healthy urban canopy. So there's no reason this tree should be taken out. And this self-created hardship needs to be used to show that people should build lots based on current restrictions, not expect approval for exceptions to the code. It would make your job a lot easier. Everybody comes in here, oh, we want it to go, we want less space. There's no green space left in this city. And we have a storm surge problem in this city, if you haven't noticed, and it's been ignored for the past 20 years. And now we're seeing it. So, and this is one of the reasons, the development that's happened here. There's other reasons too. We're right by the bay. Anyway, please don't allow the removal of this valuable tree that serves the good of the entire community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Pamela Jackson Haney, 3014 West Harborview Avenue, and I have been sworn in. I am a member of TTAG also, and here with representing our group with Allison. But I just want to mention or say that the applicant is asking for unreasonable use of their lot at the expense of this beautiful, grand, and healthy live oak tree. A tree they obviously knew was there when they bought the lot. And this is the classic self-created hardship that's going on here. The lot, as you've heard, is extra big, 12,000 square feet, which is over 1/4 of an acre. It's an exceptionally large for the city of Tampa, especially South Tampa. One of the most common lot sizes in the city is 50 by 100, which is 5,000 square feet. So it's 2.5 times, almost 2.5 times bigger than most lots. There is no problem with getting reasonable use of their land with this lot. The problem is they want unreasonable use. They want their enormous over 5,000 square foot house with, with the living space would be 4,000, I understand. But they also want a pool, and in the future they want to put in a 600 square foot mother-in-law suite. So the tree has become an inconvenience. No one's guaranteed a pool, no one's guaranteed a garage, but they want a pool and a garage and a mother-in-law suite. This is not a hardship, it's a self-created hardship. So if we look at these attached slides that I printed out here, let's see, can you guys see this? Can you see this, Stephen?
Zoom it down.
Go down, I'm sorry.
Zoom.
These were slides that were, maybe I have to do them one at a time. I'll just do them one at a time, I'm sorry. These are direct quotes from a February workshop that one of our city attorneys taught to this board, and it talks about self-created hardships. And it says if you buy a lot with a certain circumstance, like it doesn't have a garage, you can't come back and say, my hardship is that I don't have a garage and I need a garage. If you need a garage, then you need to find a house that has a garage with it, or where you can build a garage without having to come to you for the variance. Same with this. If you have the biggest house you can possibly fit on a lot, and then you say, now I want to put in a pool or add a back patio, you may need a bigger lot to fulfill your needs. It's not to jam as much as you can on there. So please save the tree. Thank you. Oh, I have 25 seconds more. Thanks. The variance is supposed to allow you to make reasonable use of your property, not to jam as much as you can on there. You may just need a bigger lot with no trees on it to fulfill the needs that you feel you need for your family. And also, it's my understanding that you can't take into consideration things like, who lives next door and if the tree is going to fall. I'm not sure about that, but that's my understanding. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this? All right, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
The gentleman next door with the young child has sent a letter in. Do you have that? Okay. And he just said his daughter doesn't mind the tree.
Charles.
We'll open for board questions.
I have a question for staff.
Does he get rebuttal after the people too?
Oh, sorry, procedurally, do we need to pause?
Procedurally, does he get a rebuttal after the opening and then another rebuttal after our questions, or does he wait to rebuttal after our questions?
Well, you might want to let him have a rebuttal after staff responds to your questions.
Does he get them both?
No, he gets 1 rebuttal.
Okay, then we'll ask questions, and you can have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay, so I'll ask staff my question and then you guys can respond. So the report here says see the attached natural resources memorandum, but I don't see it in this packet. Do you have it that you could show us
Yeah, I
to
can put
kind
it up
of
on
reflect the B7 rating?
So this is the natural resources memo. I'll kind of scroll down as you guys can just kind of get a summary of everything. Let me know when I can flip it. Good.
Okay, yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Astor, before you run off, can you remind me a B7 tree and speaking to, quality, spread, roots, probability of, falling, stuff like that?
Yeah, so just to do a quick refresher, the city uses the A through F, A being like your textbook, excellent, pristine tree, F being dead. So this falls in the top category of B, so just below A. And then the 7 comes from limb size, limb failure, potential, etc. And that has a highest of 12. So there's still another section of points that this tree doesn't go into.
Then if this moves into this, if it was into the C bracket, then that would be something they could get a permit to remove the tree, or does that have to go into further into the C?
C9
Okay.
would be
So it's
the
gotta go from
extent
B7
that
to
it does not
C9.
need to be reviewed by you.
So all things considered, this is a pretty healthy tree.
That is correct.
You had mentioned in your opening statement that that natural resources had done inconsistent with an NR or whatever, what?
Yeah, so a natural
That's-
resources memo.
That was what you just put up then?
Yes, I
Okay.
thought this was attached in your packet, sorry, it did not get printed.
Okay, Mr. Astor. I have a question for the applicant if we're done, Mr. Astor. So your proposed site plans that you put on here, they seem to be predicated on putting in a pool. Is it in there, I'm wondering why you didn't try and shift, like, we have the ability to give you less of a front yard setback in order to allow you to shift your house forward to avoid this tree. Is that not something you would consider?
Well, yes, and it was considered when we first started putting together the design plan. What was seen was the size of the tree and the root system. It has a 10-foot canopy around it. And the size of the limbs, and with new FEMA building code, we would have to elevate the home about 4 feet. So we would still impede into the massive branches into the tree, even if we were to slide it forward and come back off of that setback and remove the pool.
There seems to still be quite a bit of room in the back to put a pool. It may interfere with your mother-in-law suite, but there's plenty of room back there. Or do a different sized pool that was actually on the other side of the lot, not against the tree.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
It could be flipped to the north or the top of the page, the pool. I don't understand why the pool is shown to be within the canopy of the tree right now. I don't, why couldn't it be flipped to the other side and
Well,
be out of the canopy?
the pool, that's actually, I believe you're looking at the 26-inch live oak. The one that is impeded on the house is the 39-inch oak. The pool's not a concern.
But we were actually not even thinking about building the pool.
Yeah,
So, you could put a very large house behind the existing tree in the area where you have the pool right now.
Well, you got that other big oak right on the other side. You see it, that's in between the north lot there.
the 22-inch.
Then you got another one that's right next to that other one. The whole problem with this oak is that the branches expand so out. Like if we would have known the procedures, we would have had the oak taken out before we demoed the house because it already fell on top of the existing structure.
Correct.
But we didn't know, and we had $80,000 in fines, so we were trying to do with the city, we got with them and code and all that. Like these branches are massive. So even if we put a new structure, and it's over the other side, and I don't know if the next door owner understands, like if that tree falls, it's an act of God that they can't sue us and make us pay for their house.
That's not something, that's
You know,
not under
so-
consideration for us. Listen, you just had a very high wind event that took out trees all over the place. This tree is still beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. But it has broke before, that's why we're in this situation, so. That put a massive hole in a house, so.
And made the home uninhabitable.
Like, we could restructure and not even put the pool since everybody's complaining about we're gonna be out of it. But the tree for safety measures really needs to be removed. Like, we could put some other ones in, we got beautiful oaks that we're not gonna touch, but this massive one, it might not happen this time, but maybe next time, and I just would like to have that out of there
So
for that
if your
reason.
tree is properly maintained, the risk of it falling and crashing your house is fairly minimal. There's trees all over South Tampa that are hanging over top of rooftops.
Right.
I would venture to say most people in this room probably have a tree over top part of their roof. So I don't know that that's a
If
valid
anything, it
argument.
could provide additional protection from winds. It's gonna provide additional absorption for flooding. There are an enormous amount of benefits to having this type of tree on your property.
Aside from just the beauty of it.
I have commentary, but should I hold until we close the public hearing?
This is just for questions for them.
Okay.
So if it's just, hold it for comments.
Sure.
Okay. Any more questions for the applicant? Okay.
Do you have any more site plan proposals than what's here? I mean, is this it?
No, yes, ma'am, that's it right now.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'll close the question and open up. You have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
So what was that thing you were talking about, the setback that you would grant us on, or whatever? Like to go back, what was that? that you
One of the
proposed?
things, I think we can increase the front yard setback 10 to 10 feet. We can bring it forward 10 feet, is that correct? The side yard?
Sorry, so this is Steven from Natural Resources. I'm gonna
Alright,
just
so-
flip the slide real quick so you guys can see it. They did propose to reduce,
Okay.
the front yard setback down to 10 feet. And then reduce the side yard setback to 3 feet. But it's still, with this size structure, it still was impacting the
So my rebuttal would be, this is not a self-created hardship. The tree has already fallen through one structure, that it conquers most of this lot. It's not about the size of the house, it's about any structure we put onto this property impedes in anybody's safety there. And with new Florida building code, the home being in a flood zone, it has to be elevated up to 4 feet. So that just brings the top of the single-family story home, even if it is a small single-family story home, closer to those impeding branches that are a significant size, and it puts us in fear of that tree falling in onto the next family that moves in. So it's not a self-created hardship. The hardship is we are unable to build a structure on this home, on this property, safely and to code. The hardship came from the tree itself. That is the reason why we had to demo the building, because it wasn't meeting code standards. And as you heard from the group, that there were fines from the city because it was an uninhabited house until I was able to figure out how to get design plans to be configured to put any type of house on there. And these are the best plans that we did come up with.
Yeah, even like, let's say we don't even build the pool and the in-law suite. You know, we have a lot of beautiful oaks and a lot of trees in the back that we can mitigate some more to the back to replace this oak, you know. Like we would agree, like, hey, look, if you grant us to remove this tree, we won't build no pool and no in-law suite that, you know, they're just pounding on that we're building this catastrophic place, and mitigate some more oaks back there, you know, that's safe for everybody, you know. If the tree didn't already fall on the house, you know, I would be like, oh yeah, you know, but it already has, you know, and we showed proof of where it broke the branches off. You know, in the storm, I was freaking out like, man, this is gonna be bad. And we came and it was still there. I was like, wow, you know, but you drive down the street, there was 20 of them laying all down the street, you know. So like, if y'all would grant us to take this tree out, we'll X out the pool and the in-law suite, put some more oaks in the back, which there's tons of trees back there. You can see the site plan, you know, and build the house and keep it like that.
And that concludes our rebuttal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll close the public hearing and open up for more discussion. I mean, look, we're here to try and help out for constrained properties. This is a 240-foot long property with plenty of space to build on. I'm sorry that it's in the middle of the property, but it is a highly buildable lot still. You just got to be a little more creative.
I think there's a lot of more reconfigurations on this property that could accommodate that tree and still produce a very large structure and also a beautiful side courtyard, much like the famed architect we saw earlier today. You know, those weren't presented to us as alternatives, so in my opinion, that feels the burden of the applicant to provide us with alternative site plans that could result in saving the tree. You know, we're not here for an effort of taking a big box and moving it on all different spots to show that their big box doesn't fit with a tree that's only 2 feet from the setbacks.
I would agree. Right now, oh, sorry. Right now, there's nothing on that lot other than a tree. So this is a self-inflicted hardship to try to put something there that's bigger than what could reasonably be there. So I see this as a self-inflicted hardship. I don't see it. And by the way, the tree is healthy enough that it would add visual interest to whatever you're actually going to build and would make it so much more appealing to someone who wants to buy something that fits in with the nature of the neighborhood, in my opinion. So if you get creative, you can build around this and it could add interest that you wouldn't otherwise have.
As a certified arborist, looking at the tree and the structure of it, it is perfectly healthy, and I can't support removing it. There are many ways on this particular lot that you configure a moderate size home. I think you need to go back to your architect and have some different drawings brought up, because there are some really ways that you could really bring forth more value to your property by having the access of this tree left there.
All right, for discussion. All right, then I will make a motion. I move that the variance request for case VRB 24-54 for the property located at 6010 South Elkins Avenue for removal of a grand tree be denied due to the failure of the petitioner to meet the burden of proof with regard to the 6 factors for determining reasonable use as set forth in 27-284.2.5 F4 of the city code for granting tree removal, specifically that the alternative site plans are not reasonably reconfigured to attempt to save this B7 healthy grand tree, and additionally that the size of the lot, being 240 feet deep, definitely lends itself to having a very large buildable area, even taking into account the tree.
I second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Murphy, and second by Ms. Powers. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The petition fails 4-0-4.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, I believe that's the end of our agenda. Do we have, anything else?
1 second before the hearing is closed. With the hurricanes in October leading to there was a lot of notices that couldn't be completed for this hearing this month, which puts 14 tentative cases in December. So we are requesting a exemption to the rules and procedures that doesn't account for any missed notices or things like that. We just want to be safe in case we do go over that number because of the storms.
So I think what Stephen's asking is for the board to approve a departure from your rules of procedure, which limit the number of cases that can be placed on the agenda for any one meeting in light of, how many do you have, Stephen?
14.
14.
You
As
typically
opposed
have
to?
13.
Okay, so one more than the normal allowed, and there may be missed notices or continuous requests even with those, so.
Correct.
Do you only want 14, no more?
What was that?
You only want 14?
Yeah, that's max.
Someone like to make?
Do we need to motion this?
Yes, to waive the rules of procedure and allow for an additional case, yes.
I will make a motion that we adjust the rules of procedure for just the December 2024 VRB meeting to allow for 14 applications in lieu of the existing 13.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Murphy and a second from Ms. Savino. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Oh, boy.
All right, do we have a motion to close the hearing?
Do we have to motion to close?
No, we don't have to.
Declare it
All right.
adjourned.
I will go ahead and close the meeting.
There you go. Awesome.
Fantastic job.
Or this, but, certain elements that I think are still there. I mean, the roof is in good shape. The walls, and the siding, the windows are, obviously gone, but could be restored. So I think this has good bones. Yeah, contributing structures and demolition is just,